Hello, and welcome back to the Brothers by Law podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm John.
I just had a stroke there, but it's fine. So how are you doing today, John?
I'm doing really good, man.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. We have a very good one today. So John and I just had a bit of a conversation not too long ago, about 20 minutes ago, give or take. And it's a conversation that's very similar to one we've had many times before, but
On this podcast.
yeah,
In part.
on this podcast, we've had a couple small bouts with it. We're going to have basically the Cliff Notes version of that conversation again. Just because one of us has actually shifted our opinions
A bit.
a little bit. I mean,
a bit.
one of us has opened up their minds to the other alternative, I think is a fair way to put it. So we'll be having that. And then, because I'm not sure this is going to fill the entire time, we have a video
We
to
do.
show at the end that you can't laugh at, or else you're a boxed wine man.
So stick to the end. Stick all the way to the end, and you'll have to watch us try not to laugh at this. And if you laugh, you're going to have to do something. So
Maybe. I mean, we really don't have any way to enforce that, but I like the...
they have to.
Yeah, no,
You
100%.
have to.
100%. Otherwise,
Try not to clip. Ha.
just clip it. It's
Have
fine.
to. Have to.
All right, maybe not that much. Okay. All right. So this is already off to a great start. Yeah, so, John, why don't you sort of intro us to the conversation as it was before tonight,
Right.
and then we'll go from there.
I believe we've had this conversation probably 10 times easily.
Oh, yeah, in like just you
It's
and me.
a constant conversation that we've had. So the whole conversation is like this. Me and Paul.
How to get women.
How to get women. Who doesn't want that?
Women. Women don't usually want other women.
We'll talk about it. Oh, well, I mean,
I said
this-
usually.
you in this day and age, you never know.
I said usually.
So me
Proceed.
and Paul came into this conversation that we've had 10 times with very opposite views of
And
how
a-
to get such women.
And a lot of spice.
And a lot of spice. We've definitely yelled.
Oh yeah, like I've
Not
tried
like in a bad way.
I want to
as
say
you
it was
do.
I want to say it was either the third episode that we were on or the second one.
I think we deleted the bad one.
We might have done. We got really angry at each other. Like there was you could hear John's frustration just through the mic. It was bad. But
You were saying some things that I think after this conversation has been had so many times, I don't think you say anymore. I don't remember what they were. I think we've both developed our opinion. I'm not the only one that shifted.
No, we're kind of we're doing our best to be open to change, which, as we talked about on the last episode, where we talked about how to disagree in a manly fashion. I feel like that conversation that we had actually helped a lot with this one.
Yeah.
Honestly, because we sort of laid out these ground rules last week where we were talking about, how you disagree appropriately, and we touched on some of that stuff, and I think that's helped us a lot here. But the disagreement in question was, okay, if I can summarize that, and correct me if I get anything wrong here.
How about you do yours and I do mine?
Okay.
That'll be the most
so
accurate way.
The most reliable way to get women. My contention, and I say this a lot, I have a 50% success rate. I've dated 2 women. One of them lasted 2.5 years. The other one I've married and has so far lasted like 5 or 6. So, I'm pretty confident in my method. Now, I understand that a lack of numbers of experience can seem to discount me, but I don't think it does. But that's a conversation for another time. Excuse me. So my method for approaching the female gender, because there's only 2, is to do this. I will pick out a target, and I will say that's the girl that I'm interested in. And I will text her once a day. Usually, I think it's pretty reliably once a day. There might be a day I miss or so, but I'll just text her once a day, and it will be anything from, like, the lightest one I'll send is like good morning. Probably the heaviest text I ever sent would be something to the effect of good morning, I hope you slept well, how's your day been? Where you just you express interest every day. Now, John is of the opinion that is a not good way to do it, or he was before this conversation. So
Now I'm somewhere in the middle.
right now, we're going to pretend as if we haven't had the conversation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just so we can present our opinions as they were, and then
Yeah.
we can talk about what we had
Yeah.
and see where it goes. So, yeah, my opinion was you text her every single day, and you don't have to force a conversation, but you text her every day just to express interest because women love to be chased. They don't like to chase. John, your counterpoint was this.
Okay, so my idea was basically, and I've done this for probably 4 or 5 years at this point. My way of doing it was basically call once a week and set a date. And that's it. And then the idea is that they will, if they're interested, start to contact you more in between. Right? The dates that you systematically do, maybe once a week, maybe every week and a half, something like that. And that's worked for me on some level, you know, and then in some ways I don't know if it's worked completely. It's hard to know that.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah.
All right. Yeah, usually at this point in the conversation, when we've had it in the past, is when I start to say something to the effect of, yes, but how many of those relationships have worked out in the long run? Not a long run, but
which is
which
I don't know.
I think it seems like a
valid point.
It seems like a very fair question to me. And I'll tell you why.
Because the two more serious ones have lasted like 10 to 12 months.
Okay. So like a year, give or take. We'll round it to a year. So
like round to like 10 months.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll split the difference, call it 11. So, ballpark 11 months. And so my point, and I think this is valid, is that both of my two relationships lasted longer than 2 years each, and one of them turned into a marriage. The other one was about to, but it didn't, because we broke up. So that tends to put a damper on a relationship. So that was my first point. And let me tell you, John does not appreciate when I make that point. It's like... And I get why, because it's basically an appeal to authority.
It really is.
It really is.
In fact, that's not how you argue.
Well, but here's the thing. But am I wrong, though? But show me where I'm wrong.
You might be right. But my point is like when you sit there and say, oh, I have a 50% success rate, and look at this, and he's pointing to his ring for those people who can't see.
I do that a lot.
I'm like, dude, I understand you're married, but like that doesn't mean you're right.
Well, but see, that's the thing. I think it does. Because... marriage is for a biblical man, marriage is the end goal of dating.
Well, right.
So I believe that if I got married, that means I did it right. At least one of the right ways. And so I can say that my right way has turned out 2 successful-ish relationships, one of which terminated in a marriage.
It ended in a marriage.
Yeah, the dating relationship terminated, and then we became, married.
Okay.
Whereas your relationship has, and this is not meant as a slight, terminated in failure.
Yeah.
From a biblical point of view of end goal is marriage.
Well, I mean, when a relationship ends, it's not necessarily failure.
No, it's not a failure,
thing,
but
it might be like,
it depends on your goal. So you're right. There is definitely a point to be made of maybe this is just not the right person.
That's what I'm saying.
Definitely a point to be made there. 100%. I'll give you that.
That one of them definitely was a failure.
Yeah, no. One of them 100% was.
Hey, if you're listening, still love you, baby. I'm kidding around. No.
No, he doesn't. Because if he does, I'm going to have words with him. So, okay. So that's where the conversation...
You still have my watch. Give it freaking back. It's been 3 years. You can't mail it to me.
Does she really?
I think so, because I haven't found it.
Man, that's a bummer. That's tough, buddy. Anyway, so this is where the
By the way, rings depreciate.
Oof.
Babe.
Hey,
a lot.
Hey, I told you to buy a base. You went off and just...
I did. Okay, here's the story.
Right.
So I'm just going to... I don't care.
We're going to interrupt real quick.
I got engaged when I was like 19 or 20. Now, like, that doesn't... I was also 19, so like my technique is that... whatever.
I still don't think that one was your fault, but continue.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
You got married... You got engaged when you were 19 or so.
19, 20.
And
I went to Dietz Music Store, and I bought a bass guitar for about $700.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, because that was the one... Go ahead.
Okay. And then I was like, I've been talking to my girlfriend about proposing to her 6 months into the relationship, by the way. And guess what I did?
So did I.
Well, right, it's fine. Guess what I did, though? I went, and I realized, I went back to the music store, and I gave the bass back and got a refund.
Went and bought it was a very nice ring. It was very pretty.
And then I went and spent about $1,200 on a ring with that money.
It was very pretty. It was very pretty.
And man, if there's one moment in my life I could go back in time,
keep the bass, man.
Keep the bass. Get the ring later.
Yeah.
If you
100%.
can't afford it right now, maybe it's not. If I could go back and change one thing in my life, it would be that.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
Because because you walked out with the ring, you proposed, she said yes.
yeah.
The engagement then failed,
About 2 months later, yeah.
and rings do not retain value.
Guess how much I sold that ring for?
So you bought it for 12. I actually don't remember. Was it 3 that you sold it for? 300?
Dude, like 180.
Oh,
And I gave my sister. Guess what? Here's the worst part of the whole thing.
I remember this.
I didn't want to look at the ring because it was traumatic, dude.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And so I was like, Becca, I shouldn't say it. I already did.
Too late.
Becca, can you go and just sell this ring for me on somewhere? I don't care where. Just get rid of it and give me some money. Becca wanted a freaking commission.
I remember that.
I gave her like $40 or $50.
Yeah, that was.
And I actually only got like 110.
Yeah, it was a rough situation. I remember that.
I can't believe. Look, here's some
mistakes were
advice.
made.
Here's some advice for anyone. If someone in your family goes through that and they want you to sell the ring for them, don't charge a freaking commission. Becca, I forgive you, but come on.
Yeah, no, for real.
How terrible.
Yeah, no, not great. But yeah, all that to say,
Becca's such a...
where even were we? Oh yeah, so methods. This is where the conversation would usually descend. Is I would cite my 50% success rate and his 100% failure rate, and I would point to my wedding ring, and
Be a piece of crap.
he'd get really mad, and then I'm kind of an antagonistic person, so I just
Yeah, I think they know
love
that after
it.
you just said that. So with my 50% success rate, and then you don't even say in your whatever percent success, you say and your 100% failure rate. You twisted it.
I get kind of spicy, and he'd get even more spicy, and anyway, it would pretty much turn into a shouting match.
Because I've
Where,
had like 5 relationships, and like they haven't all been failures, man.
anyway, so at this point, the rage would set in, and that is as we talked about last week. As soon as you get angry, that's when you lose. That's when you lose the argument. But both of us would get angry, so we both lost. So nothing got accomplished, and we would just annoy my wife, who had to listen to us. I'm
She
sorry.
literally kicked us out a second ago.
I'm sorry, babe. Anyway, but so yeah, actually, we got into this conversation again just tonight. We started getting into the angry part, and Mel sent us outside, and that was actually really good because it caused us to like step back for a half second, and then we regathered our thoughts, and we continued talking.
Yeah.
And I put it. What did I say? It was really good.
So whatever it was like, oh.
Yeah, no, so I basically said that, okay, because here's what I said. So I said that a man ought to chase a woman, and the easiest way to chase a woman in our 2021 era is to send a text every day. Now, John thinks that's a bad idea, but I said, and the reason he thinks that is because he believes that, or he did at the time, I don't know if he still does, but I'm going to let him speak for himself, but I said, you got to text a woman every day to show you're interested. And John then says, well, economics, because here's the thing, scarcity equals value.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, but consider the following. Let's say that there is this hypothetical dude named Lucas. Now, he's our age, and he is 100% the absolute pinnacle of the aged wine tier man, right?
And for those who are new, which might be all of you if this
Yeah.
goes the way we want it to.
Yeah.
Aged wine means you're a high quality guy.
Yeah,
Let's just leave it at that.
Like, yeah, you are the perfect. Now, Lucas is this hypothetical person who, by the way, you can't be an aged tier wine at 26. You can't do it. Can't be done. So, but hypothetically, Lucas is this perfect man where he has enough money that he can provide in financial ways. He has enough maturity that he can provide in spiritual and emotional ways. He is physically capable of providing. He's the complete package. All right. Now I say, okay, Lucas sees a girl that he's interested in, and he texts her once a day, and it's not like a long conversation, just like, hey, how you doing? And if she wants to talk, then he talks. But if not, that's fine. And she doesn't text him back very regularly because of John's theory of scarcity, where scarcity equals value. So she doesn't value him because he's not valued. I say that does not reflect on the value of the man, that reflects on the value of the woman. So Lucas stops chasing woman A and starts chasing woman B. Now, woman B appreciates that he is the complete package, and regardless of the fact that it's very easy to talk to him because he's always trying to talk to her, she appreciates that and still treats him as, like, a compelling conversation. Does that lower the value of him as a man?
So this is what really convinced me. You said, whose fault is it that the relationship stopped going? It's not the guy's fault.
Yeah.
It's her loss, even though he's more available.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to is this. People who are, what's the psychological word for it? Just emotionally...
Unavailable?
They're used to people that are unavailable.
Okay, so yeah, emotionally abused, you could say, pretty
There's
easily.
an actual term I'm trying to think of. Maybe I'll think of later. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is people who are used to that growing up are going to be attracted to a guy that's maybe using what I was doing,
Yeah.
which is really interesting because 4 out of 5 of the girls I've dated have come from broken families. No offense to them.
Yeah.
And so, what I was thinking is like, okay, well, maybe that works on girls because it does, because I know it does,
Yeah.
because it's worked many times.
Sure.
But maybe it works on the wrong girl, and maybe it's not right anyway. I don't
Yeah.
know. So that's the conversation we're having.
Yeah. So like that's and I will admit to John, and I did already, but I'll say it again. We've had this conversation like 10 times, and that's probably the most clear I've ever put it. Because regardless of how valuable the man is, if he makes himself completely emotionally unavailable and just doesn't reach out to talk to the woman, it's his fault. Because, like, hold on, where am I going with this? My brain just completely shut down.
You said it's his fault if he's not reaching out.
If he's not reaching out, he's doing the wrong tactic, even if he has the right materials. He's building the wrong type of thing, even if he has he's supposed to be building a house, but he builds a shack, even though it's the same materials. He's using the wrong tactic to build a house.
You're going to have to say that in a different way because I don't think people are going to understand.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So if a man does everything right, so let's say he's the complete package and he does everything right, he texts her once a day, and he makes himself fully emotionally available, and she turns him down, that's not his fault. That is the woman's fault because she is not appreciating the quality of man that he is.
And here's why it might be her fault. And you can't... Just because she stops talking to the guy doesn't mean this is what's happening.
Yeah.
But some girls have this thing where they feel like they have to feel like they're almost less than the guy that they're with.
Yeah.
And the way that they get that feeling is when the guy's less available.
Yeah.
So the problem is they have a broken thing inside them. But if they're healthy, they don't see the guy as less for reaching out all the time.
Yeah. So it's definitely not to say that like a and I don't mean this in any offensive way, but it's definitely not to say that a broken woman is worth less. It's just that certain men are not going to have the energy that it takes to help a broken person get better.
It's worth less to a healthy to the prospect of a healthy relationship because if it's like that and you're the guy and she's only attracted to you when you're acting aloof, you can't. It's gonna be harder to have a good relationship.
Yeah, it's certainly not impossible.
You have to play this like weird.
Yeah, you have to
game
play a game with them, and I think
where they could just be like, "Hey, honestly, hon, I need some space."
Yeah, like here's the thing,
because they understand themselves.
Yeah, everything. So like that's exactly what I was trying to get at, but very badly. So if you have, because the thing that causes this is it's a pretty well known psychological fact that if you are emotionally abused as a child, you will tend to seek out that behavior in relationships when you're older.
Yeah.
So like if you have a dad who is just never emotionally there to support you, you're going to automatically assume that that's how love is showed. So you're going to seek out that same behavior in a potential dating partner.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that those people who have had that emotional trauma in the past aren't worth the time, but it is on them to understand the emotional trauma that they've been in. And so it is incredibly helpful for them to understand, okay, I've got this emotional baggage that I'm bringing with me. I need to understand this and communicate this effectively to anyone trying to go out with me, because otherwise I'm going to make their life much harder. And you can't count on somebody else to be the best person for you because it's like there's a song by Bo Burnham where it's Prince Charming would never settle for you. There's a line from it. Prince Charming would never settle for you. And that's appropriate for both genders. Like, you can't count on the other person to be so perfect that they're willing to stoop down to your level. You have to be willing to, at the very least, pony up and put up the effort to be better. So recognize when you have these bad emotional traumas in your life and these emotional tendencies. And it's not to say that you're not worth dating or that you can't date, but it's like John was saying, if you have that problem where you tend to think of people as if they're not paying attention to you, they don't love you, or rather if they are paying attention to you, they don't love you because of your past emotional stuff, you have to be able to say, hey, I've got this emotional baggage, I need some space right now. So it's on you to know yourself enough that you can communicate what you need.
Because the way you behave, you have to be responsible for. And if the person on the other side of the relationship feels that when they get close to you, you get further away,
they're not going to want to chase.
It puts them in a terrible abusive situation.
Yeah.
Because and I think that's possibly what I might have dealt with, but like, they feel like the more that they show love, the less they get.
Yeah.
That's really toxic.
Yeah, 100%.
And it happens a lot, I think.
Oh yeah, there is an absolute scourge of bad relationships in the world today, and I think it's because there's such a lack of strong bases. Because everybody here, I guarantee everyone listening to this, if not is close to someone, knows someone that comes from a broken family. And so if you have that high of a concentration of broken families just create emotional trauma. It's just what they do.
Well, because there's a saying that hurt people.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, maybe, like, when that happens to you, when you date someone that is closed off to you, when you show more love, and they show less love when you show more.
Yeah.
Then you start doing that to other people.
Yeah, you're hurting them because of how you've been hurt.
Because you're like, well, that's how it apparently is, so I need to do that to them. And then they feel that when they show more, you back off.
Yeah.
Because it's a power struggle or something.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like unhealthy dating virus that's kind of like in society. I don't know.
Yeah. I would say that. 100%.
Cause it's cool because I'm actually like thinking this stuff right now.
Yeah. You can tell we're actually thinking because we're both being very inarticulate.
Yeah.
We're both having a lot of trouble. But yeah, I think
you're good.
Yeah, I think that's really, it's good to know that type of stuff. Where, like, if you aren't paying attention to yourself, you're going to make for a bad partner.
It's just so interesting how people work with other people.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Because it's a thing where, like, the root of the problem here is when people are looking for fulfillment in their partner and not in God.
Yeah.
So they put that pressure on their partner, and that partner can't live up to it.
Yeah.
So that partner starts getting abused.
Yeah.
And by that other partner getting too cold.
Yeah.
When love is supposed to be something that you do when you feel and when you don't feel.
Yeah, 100%. Love is a choice. Love is not a feeling. I'm really upset that... So the Greek language has like 4 or 5 words for love.
Yeah.
And the English language has 1. And I hate that because there's so many different types of love. Because, like, ask anybody who's in a successful long-term marriage... Love is 100% not a feeling. Because, like, if I asked my parents right now, do they still feel like the ooey gooey butterflies that they first had when they started dating for each other? And I have. They both say no. And it's not that they don't like each other anymore. They do both like each other's company. But the thing is, love is such a painful, painful thing. Because when you get absolutely furious at your wife, love is what is stopping you from laying her out. And when you get absolutely furious with your husband, love is what stops you from sliding that cyanide capsule that you found into his dinner. Love is a choice, and it is a hard choice. And when you are expecting some imperfect human to be the perfect example of love towards you, you're gonna have a bad time. No exceptions.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I've kind of like when you have a puzzle and you're like, oh.
Yeah, you shift it around, you look at it from a different angle, and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. I think So like I said, we've come quite a ways on this. So
This is the point of having conversations.
yeah.
So that, because
100%.
like isolated, if these thoughts, because people don't talk about this stuff especially.
Yeah.
So when something like this is isolated in your head, you can't get it right.
Yeah, it's like a bouncy ball in a grass field. You don't have anything to throw it against. But if you have a brick wall of somebody else's opinions, then you can be like, oh, well, now it bounces. Now I can
Because
catch it.
then the bad opinions that you have that don't match reality, you can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure it out the right way. It's interesting. It's an elimination thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Its process of elimination is very powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've definitely both shifted a little bit on our opinions, I
Yeah.
think. I don't think I've shifted as much as you have. Not to say that as like a flex or anything, but I'm right. Anyway, so we've come quite a ways. I'm really proud of us because I think, so to summarize, I mean, not that we're necessarily done. We've been going 25 minutes or so.
We can probably go to the stupid church video.
Probably could, but I just want to summarize this. So I think, I do want to touch on this. So before we get on to the next thing, the main difference between our dating styles, and I noticed this during the conversation, and this was kind of an important distinction we made. So we have the two different styles of like how you talk to a woman, how you pursue them, and what's better to pursue them. But the thing is this, so John's method of sort of casting a wide net and just seeing what gets caught and what swims away works okay if you're looking to find, like, if you're looking at like, so the example I use is you go through a week and you see maybe, oh, there's a pretty girl one day, and then the next day you see, oh, there's another one, and then through the course of the week you get like 5 women, and you just like file them away for later, and then at the end of the week you kind of lay them all out and you're like, okay, this one has this pros and cons, this one has this pros and cons, I'm just going to put it all out there and see which one bites. Yeah. Whereas my method works exclusively if you choose one girl that you see and you say, that's the only person I'm going to care about until this fizzles or grows.
Right.
Because if you do my method with multiple women,
it's immoral.
It's horribly immoral, and not to mention massively emotionally abusive. Because every woman I've ever talked to, and every woman I know of, and every woman I've ever seen, and every woman I've ever heard of, if you, as a guy, are sending them a text every day, and this just makes sense, this is evidence, you're sending a clear signal that you are interested in them. If you text them every day. Like, if a woman texted you every day, you would read that as a clear sign of interest. If it was like a good morning text, or hey, how you doing, and it's every day, there's no way you can misunderstand that. Wow, that's unprofessional. There's no way you could misunderstand that as not being interested.
Yeah.
So if you do that with like 3 women at the same time, you're leading on 3 different women at the same time, and eventually that's going to blow up in your face. So while I believe my method to be more effective, it's a lot more targeted.
It's the thing. It's like and that makes sense. I'm still kind of like, because like I've had girls that have done that to me, or where they like text me like every single day.
Yeah.
And I kind of get annoyed after a while. I'm like, oh gosh.
Well, but how many times are they texting you a day?
Like once.
Oh, well, then I just think you need to work on that.
Maybe.
Because a text is, I've said this
and
before.
honestly, those are normally girls I'm not that interested in.
Sure. And
so maybe it's...
The thing is, though, I mean, I've said this before, a text is the single least, like, stressful way you can contact someone, because there is absolutely no need to text someone back. Especially with, like, you can turn off read receipts and stuff, so nobody can tell if you even read their message. You don't have to text anyone back. And there's no need for it to be, even if you do text them back, there's no, like, compulsion for it to be right away.
No.
So, like, I think that's just something you need to work on, where you just need to realize...
I mean, it's not... Okay, so let me rephrase. It's not that it's annoying. It's that I'm kind of like...
You don't have the same feelings for them.
Well, yeah. It's kind of like... It's kind of like, okay, so she's not really talking to anyone else. I'm like, because there is a level, I think you have to admit there's an element of like, scarcity does create value. So the opposite of that means if they're constantly texting you, you're kind of like, I'm like the only option they have. Maybe it's not really a good fit.
Well, I would say that I disagree with you, because I think that this is just the inverse scenario of the Lucas situation. Now, this is not to say that you're low quality for not wanting them to text you. I think if you have a girl who's texting you a whole bunch and like once a day, and you're not into her that way, then the way that you prove yourself to be a high quality man is be like, hey, I don't know, because if you don't want to do this right off the bat, obviously, because then you're going to come off as arrogant, and you will be arrogant. But if they send this like one text a day for a week, and they're not kind of picking up on your vibes of like, hey, I don't really want to talk to you, then it's on you to just be like, hey, it seems like you're pursuing me in a romantic light. I'm not really into you that way.
Yeah, that's the moral thing to do.
Yeah, so it's like
I think it's unattractive when it's gone on and you haven't really reciprocated.
Yeah, but then that's the thing is though is they could just be being persistent, which is a thing that sometimes is a tactic. So if you are getting to the point where it's been like 2 weeks, then that is the ball is 100% in your court to be like, hey, it seems like this is what's going on. I don't like you that way.
Yeah.
So that's on you, I think.
It is on me, and like I have had that conversation.
And I'm not trying to beat you up or anything.
No, and I have had that conversation with the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So,
Yeah.
because I know that's
What was going down?
yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, like it's kind of an interesting thing because like they still tag like, hey, can we just be friends? And then honestly, that's not really a thing. I mean,
it can be,
I don't
but
know.
it
But
can
they
be, but
always
it has
want-
to be.
it has to be
Both
mutual,
sides.
though.
Yeah, it has to be both sides.
because I do have
understanding
girls that like I know in my personal life that I'm just their friend. Both of us understand that neither of us have interests.
Yeah.
But we do like to talk to each other.
Sure.
But it's more rare because normally one person likes the other
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
But the point is yeah. So like, you text them, but like you don't keep texting them if they start.
Yeah. If they
ignoring
shoot you down, I would say if they start routinely ignoring you, yeah, it's probably best to back off.
Yeah.
But that said, it also, if they don't just flat out tell you, I still put the blame a little bit on them. Because
Yeah.
basically, I think the main point that everybody struggles with and that I'm really trying to make here is just communicate. Just talk to people.
Yeah. Just
Like,
say what
yeah.
say what the deal is.
If you're not into them, just let them know, because that's going to be the least cruel thing you can do. I mean, it's going to suck in the interim, because that's always an awkward conversation that nobody likes to have. But like, it's going to be easier because even then, if they do continue to text you, you've told them
That's
this
on
isn't
them
going
now.
anywhere. Yeah, that's on them.
That's on them now, but
And also, blocking numbers is a thing. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying if it becomes a problem, there's ways around it.
well, it's
that's
just
my
such an because like I don't want to block someone's number, but it's
No.
it's kind of a thing where like
I think that's a last
it is
resort.
on it is on them now because you've told them you're not interested,
Yeah.
and them getting their feelings butthurt later. It's like, well, I told you, I
Yeah,
just don't see
you
that
got to
way.
tell them at the outset, because that way you're putting out the warning signs, basically, because it's like driving off a cliff. It feels, if you're the one pursuing and they don't talk to you, it kind of feels like you're driving off a cliff, because you're driving and you're driving and you're driving, and maybe like 3 weeks into it they snap at you and are like, I really don't want to talk to you, I don't like you. It feels like the entire world has just dropped out from underneath you.
It's just such a sad thing because it does come down to the fact that like they might do that because that's what they're used to.
Yeah,
And that's how they think it's supposed to be.
but that's on you
that's
to
just
put
a-
out the warning signs
And that's
ahead
just
of time.
that's such a broken thing.
Yeah, and
It's just like, oh well, my dad always ignored me, so this
Yeah.
is what guys do.
that's where
so
it comes down
sad.
to it. Like, yeah,
Breaks my heart for people, man.
I'm upset that the American male has devolved to the point that he has. I'm really upset about that, because it's
And
gone a
female.
long way. Well,
Yeah.
both too, but I mean,
We're both not
well, not,
behaving very well.
yeah, no, nobody's ever been
Probably
perfect,
me
but,
included. You
Oh.
know, to be honest with you.
Well, it's funny you mention it. No,
But I think I've gotten better. You know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
kind of like started thinking about people more as I've gotten older.
yeah,
It's like, this person's not an object, and I'm not gonna. Anyway,
yeah. So
I'm a very honest, open person. If you can't tell, I'm talking to people I don't know about that. But
yeah,
anyway,
well, yeah. I think that's a pretty good conversation. That pretty much sums up what we talked about.
yeah,
Just talk to people. You know what? Be honest. There's, playing games are. Adults don't play games. Adults just have conversations.
yeah,
Because especially with relationships, like, there's few things that can hurt quite as bad as getting jerked around in a relationship.
Yeah.
Even if that's just a friendship. Like, even if it's just you two hang out, there's no romantic intent on either side. Conversations are so important. So just don't play games with each other, really. Just be excellent to each other,
Yeah. It really should be that simple.
It is that simple.
It comes
it's not
down
easy.
to the guy being honest about his intentions, because this happens all the time and girls take advantage of it, sadly. But a guy will kind of become that male orbiter.
Oh yeah,
that
no,
hangs
simps.
out. It's called a simp. But the problem is, I know girls personally that have also said, like, I know he likes me, but like I just want him as a friend, so I just kind of like give him a little bit and then keep. That's immoral too.
It's immoral, but I still blame the man.
It is still
The woman's not right, but the man.
They're
is still,
both wrong because
still
the
boxed wine.
guy is not willing to be honest about his feelings, which is maybe part of the reason she's not attracted in the first place, because he's wimp.
Or worse, he is willing to be open about his feelings. She said no, and he's not willing to accept that answer.
Yeah,
Which,
that's worse
as a
too.
man, it's on you to, because as the usually stronger physically gender,
Yeah.
it's on us to be the usually emotionally stronger gender. Where if a woman says no,
Well, we're more
that
logical.
means,
We can cut things up more.
yeah, well, allegedly. These days, it's hard to say. But yeah, no, I think.
But as a guy, you just have to understand, like,
Yeah.
you know, not. I don't care who you are. There's girls that will like you, the girls that won't, and you can't do a thing about it.
Yeah,
Sometimes you can do things to influence it once they like you.
it is.
But if they don't like you in the first place, you can't do anything. So
It's possible to make no mistakes and still lose.
yeah, true.
And you know
Sometimes
what?
you're just ugly, man.
Yeah. sometimes you gotta take the L, my guy. You just gotta
Yeah.
take the L and move along.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've come a long way from where we were when you were yelling at me from my couch. I'm really proud of us.
All right, so now
We have something really
I have
different.
a special treat for y'all.
Wicked
like we
stupid.
promised.
So,
Paul, have you seen this?
I have not. I've seen a couple videos like it, but I
So
don't think I've seen this
I
one.
am a singer. Follow Foxpaw on Facebook and Foxpaw
Wow.
at official Foxpaw band, whatever it
Wow.
is. Go to Facebook first and then find Instagram.
Wow.
But I'm a singer.
I don't even follow you on Instagram.
It's fine. It's fine.
I just heard him. He's tearing up.
This next song makes me tear up.
Is this
for
the
real.
gobbler?
No,
I mean, I know this
don't-
isn't literally her. But...
So this is. Oh, wait, can you screen share?
oh yeah, I can bring it up
I want
here.
them to see it. I want them to have every moment of it. Is it full screen? It's good.
Oh yeah, it's ready to go.
So I haven't told. I'm not going to say anything about this. We're just going to see if
All
we
you've
can.
said is
both,
that I'm not allowed to laugh.
Neither of us are allowed to laugh. It's going to be hard.
All right,
Ready?
all right. I'm prepared.
And if you laugh, you have to comment. You have to comment anyway.
oh
Just
yeah,
comment,
that was.
like
Yeah, we
and
didn't tell them
comment.
what we had to do, what they have to do.
You have to comment if you laugh. If you don't laugh, just like the video. It's fine.
But I mean, if you wanted to comment, that's fine too. You don't have to laugh to comment. You could just comment if you wanted.
Honestly, the more you comment, the more you like, the more you subscribe.
The more people will get to see our absolute asbestos of programming.
Yeah, this is really bad.
This is not great.
Probably the worst podcast of the internet.
Oh no, 100%. It definitely is. But by golly, I'm having a good time.
That's all that matters.
And we're building a back catalog, so I'm going to pretend that's what matters.
Yeah.
You know what? All right, all right. Let's go for this. Let's see if I can do this. Let me double check the volume.
Wait, pause it.
And final.
Next week, we're going to have a flat earther on the program, so tune in.
Oh, next week we're doing that?
Yes, I just talked to her.
All right. She does have a computer, right?
She seems more tech savvy.
All right. That's
Wait,
all
what?
I need to hear.
Anyway, never mind.
That's all I need
We
to
might
hear.
have a few, but probably not. Anyway, go.
We'll see.
Well, this next and final song is going to be one that has made me pretty famous over the last few years. It has took me a lot of places I didn't think I would be at. But it was the first time on stage, New Year's Eve 2002, with one of the best quartets out there today, Brian Free and Assurance. And I was privileged to be able to sing this one with Brian Free. And I don't know if I beat him that night or not, but ever since then, we've had competitions. I've wore him out. Not to make me look good or anything, but that's what happened. But this is one that also my friends at my hometown church, Gospel Light Baptist Church in Salisbury, North Carolina, has really made their top choice. So therefore, we're going to finish off with this one. It's called Looking for a City.
Looking for a city. Totally missed that intro.
I've done that a few times.
Do it all the time.
Looking for a city built above our city.
We're already laughing.
Will never die. Where the sainted millions never say goodbye. There we'll meet our Savior, and our love was true.
Make it true. Make a joyful noise,
Holy
brother.
Spirit, our homes renewed, looking for a city where
think he's singing
we'll never die, where the sainted millions
I think he's singing in a Byzantine scale.
say goodbye.
That scale.
There we'll meet our Savior, and our love was true.
The confidence is amazing.
Yeah, no,
Like, how can you be so confident? Like, we all know.
Hey, you know what? He's making a joyful noise before the.
I don't even care.
He's making a joyful noise, and by golly, I'm proud of him. I just don't want to listen to it.
But there's only 2 minutes left. Paul.
Oh,
Spirit,
only 2, huh? Oh, it goes with a stand.
Another
What is this?
Wait, I don't know if that was that.
That was. They
I think it
made it
was.
up. What is this? What is this company is doing?
The confidence is good.
She's doing good, but she knows what she's doing.
I know.
She's hurting him.
There should be logic to this, man. Because she's a good musician, she has good rhythm.
Oh yeah, she's doing good, but she is forcing him to go higher.
I think she's.
Well,
the
no,
problem
she's
is
trying
that
to
she
chase
should
him.
have. This is what she should have done. He takes a big water. Did you see that? Wait, we have to read.
No, I saw it. I saw it. What a champion.
Well,
I think she's not forcing him up. She's kind of chasing him.
what she should have done in the beginning was
Not play
say,
with this
hey,
guy.